Let's talk about dopamine. Dopamine is the reason you spend hours scrolling through social media, you can't stay focused for long periods of time, and you lack motivation to work on your dreams. And this is where the idea of dopamine detoxing comes from. But this is what the internet gets wrong about dopamine. First of all, dopamine detox. The name is just misleading. The word detox applies to harmful toxins like alcohol and drugs that need to be flushed out from the body. Dopamine is not a toxin. Rather, it is a substance that is naturally made in our bodies. So, it is not dopamine detox, but rather a dopamine reset. Also, dopamine is not bad. It is essential for experience of pleasure, reward, and motivation. The more dopamine that we release in the specific part of our brain, called the reward pathway, the more reinforcing or pleasurable the substance or experience is. Dopamine is responsible for ability to work hard, have passion and grit, set goals and go after them. So dopamine isn't good or bad, it just depends on when it's being released. Therefore, dopamine resets aren't just cutting out all the pleasurable and fun activities in your life. Because as we saw earlier, there is no way to totally detox from dopamine as it is naturally produced in the brain. You hear so many people on the internet saying that our brain is addicted to dopamine, but it's the other way around. It's not that our brain wants dopamine, it's that dopamine makes our brain want stuff. Dopamine doesn't say I like, it says I want. So whenever you feel like going through TikTok or crave some food, that's dopamine. And if you're impulsively doing something that you don't really enjoy, you know it's time for a dopamine reset. How do you do a dopamine reset? LEMMiNO, author of Dopamine Nation, suggests 3 ways to restore balance in our dopamine receptors. The first thing we can do is abstain from our drug or behavior of choice so that balance, or what scientists call homeostasis, can be restored. Why is that important? Because it allows us again to desire more modest natural rewards like taking a cold shower that we may no longer take pleasure in. Activities like binge watching Netflix shows or taking drugs produce a dopamine spike that is way beyond the normal, and that is why after watching YouTube shorts all day, you will have no desire to do normal activities like exercising or doing dishes. And there's something I have noticed. If I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is scroll through TikTok or Instagram, I will struggle to do hard things like working or going to the gym. I will be less focused and also my energy levels will be just off. But if I wake up and the first thing I do is make my bed and take a cold shower, I will have a very productive day. Importantly, a dopamine reset gives us insight. When we're constantly chasing dopamine, we don't notice the negative effects it has on our lives. We need to distance from these harmful behaviors so that we can see the true impacts it has on our lives, our relationship, and our moods. An important point to note is that you should not abstain from every pleasurable experience in life, but rather you should identify the substance or behavior that you have a problematic relationship with and abstain for 30 days. Why 30 days? Well, 30 days on average is the amount of time it takes to reset reward pathways and restore balance. But if you can't do it for 4 weeks, do it for 2 weeks. If you can't do it for 2 weeks, do it for a week. And if you can't do it for a week, do it for a single 24-hour period. The next thing we need to do after our dopamine fast is we need to figure out how to maintain these healthy levels and re-enter into a healthy relationship with the activity you were abstaining from. Or we need to figure out how to continue abstinence. It will depend on your choice. And the way to do that is to create both literal and mental barriers between ourselves and the behavior or substance. And this can take 3 forms. The first one is geographical form, like getting chocolate or alcohol out of the house, keeping your phone in another room, or just leaving it at home. You can also create tech-free spaces like not using your devices in your bedroom. Chronological form. This is something like intermittent fasting and not the food kind of intermittent fasting. This is saying that I'm not going to use my phone between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. so that I can give my brain a break. Alternatively, you can create tech-free times like not using your phone during meal times. Personally, not using my phone or binge watching Netflix during meal times has not only helped me with dopamine reset, but it has also helped me with mindfully eating because I can pay attention to how food makes me feel and identify when I'm full. The other form is categorical. That is where, for example, someone who is addicted to video games say, okay, I can't play League of Legends, but it is okay if I play this other game with my friends. The other thing we can do to restore balance in our dopamine receptors is seek out pain, which Dr. LEMMiNO calls the science of homeostasis. This is basically activating our body's regulatory mechanisms to increase feel-good hormones like dopamine. To use social media as an example, homeostasis can be achieved by unplugging from our devices and doing things that are hard like exercising, journaling, taking a cold shower, being in nature, reading a hard book, and meditating. These are a healthy way of getting our dopamine indirectly by paying for it upfront. When we initiate a painful activity like exercise, we gradually increase dopamine over time, and then once we stop exercising, dopamine levels remain high for hours afterwards before going back to the initial position. And the most important thing is to be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to fail over and over again, because let's be honest, change is difficult and it is really painful. But don't forget to be kind to yourself, because failure and pain are part of the journey. Sometimes I also forget to be kind to myself, but one tip I usually use is to imagine what I would tell a person I love if they made a mistake and apply it in my life. I believe in you and I know you can do this. See you on the next one.